Hello, Golden Eagles, and welcome back to Eagle Interview. My name is Kaylon Moran, and I'm your host. Today we have a very special guest in the studio with me. He's the director of the School of Media and Communications. It's Dr. Edgar Simpson.
Hello.
Hi, Dr. Simpson. How are you?
I am great, and it's great to be here.
Yeah, it's really, really wonderful to have you here and have the opportunity to speak to you.
Thank you. Always have time for you guys.
So I want to start by asking a little bit about your background. You know, where did you grow up? What did you originally go to school for?
Yep. I grew up in Morgantown, West Virginia, a long time ago when dinosaurs roamed the land. I actually have been involved in journalism since I was 12 years old. I started my junior high school newspaper, actually, very long time ago. Don't know whether it's still going. I suspect it isn't, but it went for a few years after I left. And I studied journalism at Marshall University, and I got my master's and doctorate in journalism at Ohio University in 2012. And before that, I had spent a number of years in newsrooms in Missouri, Ohio, where I was reporter, city editor, managing editor, and then editor of newspapers.
That's really incredible. I can't believe you started your own.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's really interesting
in
to
junior
hear.
high, yep.
Yeah.
We did not have a newspaper, and I went to, I think it was my not social studies, but social something teacher. And she goes, "That's a great idea. I'll help you do it." And so we did. And we had a group of about 8 to 10 folks, and we put out this once a month newsletter that we actually typed up on manual typewriters and delivered it, and everybody thought it was great.
Yeah, that is really,
we had
really
a sports
great.
section and everything.
So what kind of started that whole drive with the field of communication anyway?
Well, you know, I'm a child of Watergate. So I'm not sure you guys even remember what Watergate is, but that was where 2 reporters for the Washington Post began investigating the president at the time, which was Richard Nixon, and where they discovered a whole bunch of shenanigans going on with the White House, the IRS, and political intrigue and all sorts of things, and so they began writing about it. And that became a very, very famous case. And that, as I remember, that was my first political awareness. So I was watching this, and what I didn't take away is wanting to be a politician. I took away wanting to be the journalist. I wanted to be the one who brought those kinds of stories to the public, and that fire has never left me. I continue to want to do that every day.
So investigative journalism, you would say, is like the topic you're most passionate about? I
think so. I mean, I think all good journalism has an element of investigative to it, right? This idea that our reporters, producers, content creators are bringing something to the public that they would not have known otherwise. But there's a special place in my heart for the true investigative journalist, where they are asking the questions no one else will ask. They are the ones putting themselves out there on the line, challenging power, questioning those in authority, saying, "Why are you doing this? What is the real reason?" Putting in the open records requests and trying to dig down to really get to the truth and what's happening. That is a special mission for our journalists in the U.S. society, and that's something I think we need to foster, protect, and keep close to our hearts.
Right, absolutely. Especially in today's society where there's so much mis and disinformation.
Exactly
rampant.
right, exactly right. It's becoming harder every day to tell what is true and what is not. And I think our journalists can continue to be that North Star of truth for our U.S. society. And we need to challenge our journalists to keep doing that. It's harder. It can tax your mental capabilities to do this, especially in the current climate that we're in. But if you go back and look at history, good journalism has never been easy. Whether you're on a battlefield covering a war, whether you're in the trenches of politics where nobody likes the journalist in the room, you go back through history, that has always been the case. We need our journalists now more than ever. We need them to have courage. We need them to be supported. And we need them to support the search for truth.
Right. Absolutely, absolutely. So going back to you and your position here now, you are the director of the School of Media and Communication, which is incredible. What are some of your responsibilities right now under that title?
Basically, yes. That's every day I ask myself the same thing. Basically, anything that moves within the school eventually crosses my desk. So things like the courses that we create, the courses that we offer every semester, eventually comes across my desk. And of course, everything I do is in conjunction with our faculty. But I also watch the budget, how much we spend, where we spend it, how we spend it. The Student Media Center is a huge part of what the School of Communication, Media and Communication does. And we're also starting new initiatives that have become increasingly time-consuming, but an awful lot of fun. So the Roy Howard Community Journalism Center falls under the School of Media and Communication. And we'll talk more about that later if you like, but that's a passion project for me as well. We have the debate team here in the school, which is very exciting. The Speaking Center is adjacent to our school, and we work to support their efforts as well. And then we have a variety of student groups inside the school that we work really hard to support. So we have our Communication Studies student group. We have our Digital Nest student group. They're out there doing all kinds of awesome things. Our Southern Miss Society of Black Journalists, SMBJ, is out there doing awesome things. PRSSA, yep. They're out there. So we try to support all of our student groups. So pretty much anything you see inside the school eventually ends up across the director's desk. Things like hiring faculty, that's often, you don't see that a lot. Our students really don't get involved too much in that, although they should be more involved, I think, in that, right? What do you think about that idea? Students being more involved in hiring faculty?
You know, I hadn't considered it, but I would definitely agree with that. You know, making sure we have people who can fill the role appropriately and know what they're talking about. Sometimes I've come across teachers who aren't very skilled in one facet, but they're excellent in another. And I want to, you know, if you're coming to college to get an education, you want to make sure I'm going to school for this. I want this teacher to be able to know this thing top to back. So interesting.
Okay, well, yeah. So that's something we're always, so faculty hiring is always a key thing that we do. So that's pretty much it. I mean, it's pretty much anything involved in any school on campus, the director eventually gets involved in one way or another.
So you mentioned a couple of the organizations, which they're all incredible. I love all of the organizations and communities that we have in this school. I'm not biased because I am a media arts major. It's just we have a really good environment here. So how do you personally go about supporting or assisting those organizations? I know you mentioned Roy Howard, you mentioned SM2, you mentioned Digital Nest, Speech and Debate, a couple others. Is there anything specifically that you orchestrate with them during certain times of the year or something?
Not really. As director, it's more of a kind of a bully pulpit. So I try to make sure that our faculty are involved in these groups. Try to remind them to make sure that they know and remember how important these student groups are to the mission of the school, to the future of our students. I do try to attend as many events as I can. I'm also the advisor for our Communication Studies group, so I'm very, very proud of that. So I try to attend events, and I try to remind folks, hey, we need to be involved with these groups because they're very important.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, having these groups on campus is how you get people out their shells, you help foster a good environment. I mean, we can't have, you know, as you say, journalism and creativity you can't do it on your own. You need to have perspective of others.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
So you were mentioning how you specifically try to get involved a lot with organizations and stuff. I hear that you are one of the hosts of News You Need.
I am.
Yeah. Can you go over what that program is and how it began?
Yeah, sure. So it started about 3 years ago now. We're in the third year. So News You Need, I am the host of News You Need, which is a radio show on WUSM 88.5 FM, and every Friday at 12:30, where we talk to what I call the best human beings in the whole world, which is our USM students, and we simply talk with them about what is news to our students and what are some issues maybe they haven't thought about. So I'll shoot them some headlines, and we'll have a discussion, and I tell you, it's very interesting. I don't know how big our audience is. I suspect 1 or 2, maybe. We'll see. But I believe everybody should be listening to it, and not because of me, but because the students are amazing. They bring insight and perspective to issues that had never occurred to me, which is why I talk to them. So the one reason I do it is because, not because I have a free hour every Friday, but because I think it's important for the director of the school to support student media and to try to be a leader by example of, look, I'm out there trying to create content just like the rest of you guys. I understand your struggle. I understand it's not easy. I understand that commitment every week is tough, but I try to make it. I haven't missed a Friday. Very proud of that in 3.5 years. I've not missed a Friday. Now, that's not true. I will occasionally have to bring in my guest host, who is Dr. Hale. Dr. Brent Hale has agreed in the last 2 semesters or so to help out on the show, and that's been a huge help.
Yeah.
So if I have to miss a Friday for whatever reason, he usually jumps on there, and then some shows he's on there with me as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I had the privilege of, I'm in career and skills and communication, watching you, you and Dr. Hale, along with a panel of students, host that live.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it was very,
that's right.
I don't know, I don't think introspective is the word, but it was a great privilege to get to watch y'all, discuss complex ideas and hear the student voice, but also the faculty voice. It was very eye-opening to see that.
Well, that's great. I'm glad you enjoyed that.
Yeah.
That is something we started new this semester. We have always had a live event once a semester, and we did it usually in the evenings, but it was a bit of a struggle to get an audience there. So we always had some audience, but sometimes it was a little thin. So Dr. Hale actually suggested, I think it would be great for the students to see this. So he suggested that, and we said, sure, we can do it live in front of the class, and I think it worked out beautifully.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to hear your thoughts on that. So
yeah, it did work out really well. I'd have to say, like, the second time, I was just a participant and I was just watching y'all, and the first time I was more behind the scenes because I was one of the camera people who was helping film it. So two sides,
So you've seen it from both ends.
Yes,
yeah. That's great. That's great.
Yeah, but it's a really good resource for students, and I encourage anybody who's out there to go tune in and listen. Do you want to repeat?
Sure. Every Friday at 12:30 on 88.5 FM.
Go tune in. Now, on to the last question. How do you hope to see the School of Media and Communication grow in the next coming years?
That is a super question. I will tell you that is something that I and your faculty are focused on, I hope, every single day, is that where are we going to be a decade from now? But more importantly, where's journalism going to be? Where's media going to be? Where's communication going to be 10 years from now? So I really hope that as we go along here, initiatives like the Roy Howard Community Journalism Center will just take off, that it will become increasingly competitive for students to work there. Immediately it's been a little competitive. We have not been able to put to work all the students who want to work in there. But I really hope within 4 or 5 years we get this grant renewed, and that it becomes increasingly competitive, and that we are doing more and more deeper work in the communities in Southeast Mississippi. I really see that as an important mission for us as a school and for our students as a group, because that's just so important. There's nothing more important than that. But of course, we're also facing issues with artificial intelligence, with the ongoing convergence of the digital world, and so everything we create, we tend to think of, and this is really interesting with our students, we still tend to think of, oh, I'm writing a story for the Prince, or oh, I'm doing a package for SMTV, or oh, I'm doing social media, or oh, I'm going to do this video for Instagram. But the reality is most folks are getting their information across a variety of platforms in the digital world. Mm-hmm. So we need to increasingly ask our students to not just do one thing, but to be good writers, to be good videographers, to be good communicators on social media, to understand the analytics and the marketing and all of the nuances behind all the channels of communication. So we're going to ask them increasingly to do that, and that is not to make our students have more anxiety, because the more complex things are, the more anxiety we tend to have. But it's asking them to make themselves more competitive for the world they're entering. So that's the idea. We think we have a pretty solid path to get there, and so we just need to challenge our students to march on and get on that path, do what's in their hearts to do, get fired up about it, be passionate about it, find those stories, tell those stories, and put it across as many platforms as we possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like what you mentioned earlier about having the flexibility to go out and be able to succeedingly do multiple different things. I think that's especially important when you're in a competitive job market, because it sets you apart from your neighbor or the person who was there before you. It's really important that you're being able to perform different skills in a sufficient way.
Yeah, well, and that's when we talk to employers every year, and we do talk to employers every year, they tell us that. You know, they need somebody who can come in and do a competent video, but also write a competent social media post. They need somebody to pull the analytics. They need somebody to do all of these, to write a story for the website. All of these different things. So they're asking our graduates to do that. And so it's our job to help our graduates see the skills and to demand that they at least take a crack at developing the skills that we know will make them competitive once they get out.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very, very grateful that, you know, USM and both the School of Media and Communication are so good about encouraging their students to do that, not only through classes and courses and faculty, but also through those organizations we discussed. There's a lot of very good resources around campus that help students realize like what they'll need to prepare for in the future and how they go about doing that.
Right, exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Simpson.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure being here.
I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a very, very good discussion, so I really appreciate it. And thank you, Golden Eagles, for tuning in. This has been Kaylon Moran with Eagle Interview, and we'll catch you next time.